Hi.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my Assassination Rogue PvP guide for patch 8.3. In this guide, I'm going to cover stat priority, talents, hunter talents, Azurite traits, essences, corruption, macros, rotation, and the comps for Assassination Rogue. I want this guide to be as detailed as possible, so do not be afraid if this video is a bit long. Anyways, let's jump into it. Stat priority. For stats, you want to have around 20% haste, then as much versatility as you can. If you cannot, then you will pick mastery, and as a last resort, you will pick critical strike. So 20% haste, because haste is an amazing stat, it increases your auto attack speed, so you have more damage, you have more poison applications. Haste also increases your passive energy regeneration, and the last thing it does is it increases the tick rate of your bleed and poisons. As Assassination Rogues, we have a passive called Venomous Wounds, which gives us energy back every time our bleed effects deal damage. So if your bleed effects tick faster because of haste, you will get more energy, so you will be able to use more spells, and so you will deal more damage. We don't go above 20% because it's not as much of a gain as when you're below 20%, because when you reach around 20%, if you manage your bleeds well, you will have sufficient energy regeneration, so versatility becomes better. Versatility is an amazing stat as it increases all the damage you do and reduces all the damage you take. So so the damage increase is bleeds, poisons, auto attacks, and mutilates, and it also increases corruption damage and essence damage. So this is a bit less known and it is not reflected on tooltips. Like for example, if you look at my Reaping Flames tooltip, it deals 60k damage. Now if I remove versatility, right, I'm doing it here, it still deals 60k damage, right? But if I actually hit the target with Reaping Flames, well, 76k. Um, so yeah, versatility, amazing stat, increases the damage of everything you do. So this is a much better damage increase than Mastery, and reduces damage taken. This makes you a lot more tanky. This helps you survive a lot in arenas. Maybe by the end of the patch, we'll be able to reach 40% versatility with sockets everywhere, and with corruption that increases versatility gained from all sources. So that would be a permanent defensive stance from warriors as damage reduction, since we'd have 20% damage reduction. That would be really amazing. Like it would be really hard to die in those circumstances. The third stat, mastery. Mastery is just damage increase uh, by poisons and bleeds, so it's obviously not as good as mastery since you don't get the damage increase on mutilates, on auto attacks, on corruptions, and on the senses. But on the other hand, you get more mastery per point than you get versatility. So you can have better envenoms and better bleeds if you just invest all your points in mastery, but then you will lack the damage on your corruption, essences, and physical damage. The last stat is critical strike. Critical strike isn't really good in PvP just because it's nerfed, so it's only 50% more damage as opposed to 100% more damage in PvE. So you just don't pick critical strike. One thing to note though is that we have a passive that synergizes well with critical strike. It is called Seal Fate. Every time you critically strike with a melee attack that generates combo points, you gain additional combo points. So just be aware that it exists. Sometimes it gives you combo points you weren't expecting, but that's it. Talents. So this is my PvP talent build. Master Poisoner increases the damage done by your weapon poisons by 30% and their non-damaging effects by 20%. We picked this talent because of the second part, because this makes Crippling Poison become a 60% slow instead of 50, and Wound Poison become a 30% healing reduction effect instead of 25. So this makes respectively Crippling Poison become one of the best slow in the game, and Wound Poison become the best healing reduction effect in the game, as you can have it permanently on any number of targets you want. On the same row, Blindside is bad, and Elaborate Planning, well, the damage increase is good, but it's not as good as having Master Poisoner, as Master Poisoner gives you more team utility. On the second row, Subterfuge, your abilities requiring stealth can still be used for 3 seconds after stealth breaks. There is also a Garrote damage increase, but we really pick it for the first part. So this allows us to use 3 Garrotes or 3 cheap shots or Sap after we get spotted every time we exit stealth. This is just amazing. You can silence or stun, like you can CC an entire team every time you exit stealth. Um, if you vanish, you can once again CC an entire team. If you manage to re-stealth, you can once again CC an entire team. This is just amazing. And on the same row, Master Assassin, well, this gives critical strike, so it's bad. Night Stalker increases the damage of one ability dealt after vanish, which is very bad. Like, we'd be able to increase one infinite by 50%, and that's all. And we lose Subterfuge. Well, clearly not worth it. On the third row, Mark to Death, always good. You can have it every kidney, you can use kidney with it. Only 30 seconds cooldown, so this, well, synergizes very well with Kidney Shot and Toxic Blade. This is a very versatile talent. You can use it for more burst during Kidney Shot to have one more Envenom. You can use it to finish off a target. You have no combo points, you need damage, Mark for Death, Envenom. You can use it to use Kidney Shot when you have 0 combo points, so you can actually open with Kidney Shot from stealth if you want. So yeah, a very good talent. Deeper Stratagem, very bad in PvP for Assassination. Vigor, it is good in terms of sustained damage, but we have enough sustained damage as is, and what we need is more burst damage during setups and not, not more sustained damage with Vigor. On the fourth row, Elusiveness is the way to go. Feint also reduces all damage you take from non-area of effect attacks by 30% for 5 seconds. Feint only has a 15 seconds cooldown and gives this damage taken reduction for 5 seconds. So you can have 1/3 of the time you can have damage reduction. Because the cooldown is very low, it's kind of random and you will most likely always have it when you need it. So, like, this is a must-have talent. You cannot not pick it. Leeching Poison is extremely bad. Cheat Death, I mean, it can save your life once or twice, but with Elusiveness, you might not have proc Cheat Death anyway. And at higher levels, Elusiveness will be needed to survive. Cheat Death, you will proc it and you will still die. On the fifth row, Internal Bleeding is the way to go. This is actually an underrated talent. It is insanely powerful. It makes Kidney Shot apply a bleed effect when you use it. So, well, this is very good because during Kidney Shot you have an additional bleed effect, so you gain more energy through Venomous Wounds, and so you are able to use more spells during your Kidney Shot, so you will deal a lot more damage. And also, well, the bleed effect in itself deals really good damage. When I use it, it's usually really competitive with an Envenom. Like, usually, yeah, it might be as much damage as an Envenom. If you look at tooltips, this says 32k. If I look at the non-buffed Envenom, it is 39k. So yeah, really good. Iron Warrior, not very good in PvP. You cannot, corrode out of stealth enough for it to be relevant. And Prey on the Weak, well, this would be good, but it's nerfed in PvP and is only 5%. 5% more damage is not as good as Internal Bleeding. On the sixth row, Toxic Blade is the best talent by far. You will always pick it. The damage is good, and it also increases your nature damage done against your target by 20%. It is nerfed in PvP. It is not 30, but 20%. So the cooldown is only 25 seconds, so you can use it every Kidney Shot alongside Mark for Death. So the combination of Mark for Death, Toxic Blade, and Kidney Shot allows for insane burst damage, and you can Kidney Shot your target with all bleeds up, with internal bleeding, and you will Toxic Blade and throw 3 Envenoms during the Kidney Shot thanks to Mark for Death. Sometimes only 2 depending on your energy, but overall, insane burst. Exsanguinate, not really good. It increases the tick rate of bleeds, but you burst with poisons more than with bleeds. And Venom Rush, well, it's just sustained damage with more energy regeneration, but you do Toxic Blade for it. Like, this talent is never used even in PvE when you need to sustain damage. You still pick Toxic Blade, it's just more damage. On the last row, you will pick Poison Bomb, well, simply because the other 2 options are horrible in PvP. Hunter Talents. So for Hunter Talents, if you are not a human, you pick Gladiator's Medallion all the time. If you're a human, then you can pick Relentless most of the time. But sometimes you will still need to pick Gladiator's Medallion. For example, I'm playing a lot of Rogue Mage. I like to have Gladiator's Medallion to exit a blind, to exit a fear if I really need to kill my target or to use defensive cooldown, stuff like that. For the rest of the Hunter Talent, Smoke Bomb is mandatory. This talent is really good. It allows you to kill a target that has no trinket in a stun. You can also use it to stop a cast. Like you can stop a heal and kill your target because that heal was important and you just stopped it even though the target wasn't stunned. You can also use it defensively. So like you or your team, one of your teammates is going to die. You use it to stop a Chaos Bolt, you use it to stop a Greater Pyro. You can also use it to stop a CC on your healer, a Sheep, a Cyclone, stuff like that. And also I showed in a recent video that you can also immune Touch of Death with it. I'll let you find the video to see how to do that. The last two Anatalians are really often either Maneuverability, System Shock, or Mind Numbing Poison. So maneuverability is only used if you really need to remove a slow in order to connect to a target. For example, you're playing against Death Knight and any healer. You want to go on the healer at least sometimes, if not all the time. So you need to be able to reach it, to stun it, to dot it. In that regard, maneuverability will help you. However, if you're playing against comp that does not have any slow or that you don't really care about the slow, for example, you're playing against Warlock, Mage, and a healer, then maneuverability doesn't have any use, so you will pick Mind Numbing Poison instead. So Mind Numbing Poison and System Shock are your two damage on attainments. If you have to pick maneuverability, then the last talent is either System Shock or Mind Numbing Poison. This is kind of up to personal preference. I know lots of rogues prefer to play Mind Numbing because this is more overall damage. However, I prefer to pick System Shock because, in my opinion, the relevant damage of Assassination Rogues is during Kidney Shot, Toxic Blade, and Mark for Death. In that regard, System Shock helps deal a bit more burst damage to the target. And also, the slow is kind of nice. One last thing, if you're playing against the Frost Mage in 2s, Death from Above can be useful. You can use it as an additional gap closer when you're being kited. One thing to know about Death from Above, it allows you to immune the Ursul's Vortex from Druids. If you use it when you're in a Vortex, you jump up in the air, the Vortex brings you down, and then you leap at your target so you're not in Vortex anymore. Azurite Traits. So, for Azurite Traits, the first thing you want is one Shrouded Suffocation. You want this trait not for the damage of Garrote, but for the combo points. Having 3 combo points every time you use Garrote from stealth is really powerful in your opener, and if you use Vanish offensively. Because you only take this trait for the combo points, you do not want to have more than one, as it is a waste, since the combo points don't stack. The second thing you want is to have 3 Twist the Knife. Twist the Knife increases the damage of Envenom for each combo point you have. This is very good because your damage as Assassination Rogue revolves around your burst window with Kidney Shot, Toxic Blade, and Mark for Death. You want to deal as much damage as possible during those windows, and this is done by increasing the damage of Envenom as much as you can. So 3 Twist the Knife is really important. After this, for the last 2 remaining traits, 1 Nothing Personal is good. So the poison is decent in PvP, not that amazing, especially since it can be dispelled, but the energy regeneration is really good as it allows you to use a lot more spells during Vendetta, and Vendetta, is your big damage cooldown. For the last trait, what you want, well, what I have here is 1 Heart of Darkness. This is okay. This increases all your stats if you have Corruption. Battlefield Precision is also very good, and if you can't have this, maybe a second Nothing Personal, but once again, it can be dispelled, so it isn't that amazing. So I would say the best thing is Battlefield Precision and then Heart of Darkness. For the secondary ring, I think Overwhelming Power, even though it was nerfed, is still the best option. If you can't have Overwhelming Power, then I do think God Reaper is decent, and Elemental Whirl is also okay. For the defensive ring, it doesn't really matter anymore since it was nerfed so much, but if you really have to choose something, I would say everything that heals you is the best option. So Impassive Visage is good, Resounding Protection is good. These are the best two options in my opinion. If you're playing double DPS and you want to go away to heal up, then lying in wait is okay. That being said, the healing is nerfed so much and there is dampening that it doesn't really matter. It's good, but it doesn't really matter. This one, Shrouded Mantle, is also okay against Caustic Leaves if you manage to dispel a lot of effects off of you. But yeah, I'd really say Impassive Visage and Resounding Protection are the best options. Essences. So for essences, you want to play with Breath of the Dying as your major essence. The damage of the major effect and of the minor effect is completely crazy. Sometimes you will, deal more damage with the essence than with your spells, which is not really normal, but well, that's how it is right now. The major essence can also be used on a pet to kill it in order to deal 100 more damage on the next use, so just be aware that it is possible. And yeah, for the minor essences, well, Memory of Lucid Dreams, as rogues we always have that. It gives versatility, which is always good, but it also refunds energy. This is why you pick this essence. I think in most cases, it refunds, I think 20% of my energy in a game, and the 80 other percent are venomous wounds. So this is really, really good. The last two minors, I like to play Conflict and Strife for the versatility and Condensed Life Force when I play Rogue Mage, because this is a bit extra damage. This can proc for nice damage. So this, alongside the minor of Breath of the Dying, makes for decent damage procs on the enemy. Conflict and Strife, well, versatility is always good. I think if you play with a healer and you play a trinket like Badge, playing Flame instead of I'm not playing Flame is good, as it might be a bit more overall damage than um, Condensed Life Force, especially since Condensed Life Force was nerfed. If you play with a trinket like Insignia, you can have a Vision of Perfection instead of as your third minor. That way your Vendetta only has 1 minute and a half cooldown if you have around 80 neck level. So this is very good because you can have a Vendetta every 3 kidney shots. This is a ton of pressure on the enemy team. I recommend you play this if you play double tooth with a healer, or if you play threes. I think this build is the best one. Um, but yeah, if you play double DPS, you will probably not have a second Vendetta anyways, so something like this is much better. Corruption. So I haven't been very lucky with corruption effects, so I couldn't test a lot of them. But I would say one of the best ones is Twisted Appendage, which summons a tentacle that mind flays your target. This is very good, even though the tentacles are easy to kill. If you proc this during a stun, or if you proc this behind a pillar, or if you proc this when the enemy doesn't have any range attack, it will deal a ton of damage. It can really hurt your opponent. I've seen teams die just double tentacle procs, stuff like that. So if you have Twisted Appendage, I definitely recommend using it. Another very good corruption is Infinite Stars, so I do not have it on this character, sadly. Infinite Stars is really good corruption, it deals very good damage. I think it is able to proc off dots, so as an Assassination Rogue you have lots of dots, so you can actually proc it even though you are being kited. So, yeah, very good damage. Another good corruption, in my opinion, would be everything that gives you versatility. For example, on this dagger, I have a versatility proc. It is kind of low. It isn't the best one, but that's kind of a lie I have. But if you can have like this corruption with versatility, so increases the amount of versatility you gain from all sources by 12%. If you can have several of these on pieces of gear that have versatility, or on pieces of gear on which you don't already have a super insane amount of versa, like this, then overall you will gain versatility, and versatility, as I said earlier, is the best stat. So yeah, I think corruption is Mind Flay, Infinite Stars, and versatility increase in any way. Macros. So macros is something that I forgot to do in my previous guides, and I was asked to do this a lot, so I'm going to show you a few macros. So as a rogue, the first thing you need to have is a Sap Macro to Sap Stealth targets. So my Sap Macro is this, only these three parts. So what it does is it clears my target if I have one, then it targets the nearest enemy player and it attempts to sap it if it's in range. So if I spam this macro, what it's going to do is it will keep clearing my target and target the closest enemy player. So if I'm playing against like Priest Rogue, okay, this guy is the Priest, and I'm spamming my macro, then it will target the Priest and try to sap, but the Priest will be too far, so I won't be able to sap. And if the Rogue comes near me and appears on my screen, it will instantly target the Rogue and sap him because he will be in range. So this is the Sap Macro, you need to have one. The other way to do this is to have Sap Arena 1, Sap Arena 2, Sap Arena 3, Sap Normal Target, and Sap Focus, and depending on who you want to sap, well, you press the according macro. I don't like this method because it makes you have at least 5 bins just to sap people. This is too much, and if you do this on every CC spell you have, you're going to have a problem because you have a lot of CC spells as rogue. The other kind of macros need to have are focus macros. So every CC spell you have, like cheap shot, has to have focus macro that allows you to either cheap shot your target, or cheap shot your focus easily without targeting the guy. So you need to have this on Garrote, cheap shot, kidney shot, sap, blind, kick, shadow step, and poison knife. So, for example, okay, so I'm stuck in combat, so I can't actually stealth to show you. So I'll do it with kidney shot. So this guy is my target. So I'm hitting my target, and I want to stun my focus target. Boom, kidney shot. I didn't target this guy, but he's in kidney shot. Now, let's say this guy is a priest. So the dummy is a priest. He's running to my healer to fear. Okay, focus poison knife. Now he's slowed, and he can't run to my healer to fear. And I didn't, because if I need to, turn my camera, target the guy, slow, target the guy, hit, then I'm losing too much time. So this is why focus macros are really important. Step macro, very important because you want to be able to step kick or step kidney without targeting the guy once again. Yeah, there is also, as I said, blind. There will be sap, but invalid target, garrote, cheap shot. So yeah, this is important. In order to do this on every enemy, so yeah, you might have realized that this is only on focus. This is the way I play, but in threes, there are 3 targets. So my target, the focus, and the third guy. So my way of playing in arena is that I have a macro to focus arena 1, focus arena 2, focus arena 3. So depending on who I am attacking and who I have in focus, if I see this guy, like this guy is arena 1, I'm attacking. This guy is arena 3, I have in focus. If I see arena 2, I'm casting a sheep and I want to stop it, I will press my macro to focus arena 2, and then I will step kick focus. You can have macros to directly use your CC on every arena enemy if you prefer, but then you need to have your normal CC for your target, and then your CC for arena 1, 2, and 3 for every CC you have. So it means garrote is 4 bins, sheep shot 4 bins, kidney shot 4 bins, and so on. So I don't think this is a good method, as you will have too many. This will require too many bins. I don't know if I mentioned kick in my list, so kick focus, of course, very important. That's kind of it for macros. If you want to have more stuff, then feel free, but the only mandatory stuff is being able to sap a stealth target and being able to use your CC spells on any target without targeting. Like if you need to react fast, you don't have time to go and target the guy. You just want to use the CC immediately. You need to be able to do that. Also, sometimes you need to use it on focus without targeting because you don't want to use an auto attack. You don't want to apply your poison. You just want to CC without touching the guy. This is important if if you used to play salty. Sometimes you could kidney shot Sap, but if you kidney shot and auto attack, you might offset the timer to drop combat by a couple milliseconds, and then you won't have time to Sap. Last thing, you need to have a focus macro on your you need to have a shadow step macro on your teammates. So I don't have anyone in my group, so I can't show you, but let's say this is my party one. I put a focus for example. I have a macro that steps party one, so if I need to escape a dire situation and I know my party one is in a safe spot, I can step to him. Alright, so that's it for macros, I guess. If anything wasn't clear enough, or if you need more details or anything else, please tell me in the comment, as this is the first time I do a macro section. Rotation. There isn't really a set rotation in PvP, as it of course depends on what the enemy team is doing, but there are things that won't really change. For example, your opener. You want to sap a target, then mark for death, kidney shot a target you want to open, growth, rupture, toxic blade, mutilate, and then you spam envenoms. If you want to burst in the opener, then you also use vendetta there. Also, since 8.3, we have gained the essence Breath of the Dying. You want to use Breath of the Dying in your opener if you think about it, because it will make the cooldown only 15 seconds instead of 45 if you use it when the enemy is above 80% health. Another thing that doesn't really change is your burst rotation. You want to have your bleeds up on the target you're going to burst down. Then you want to kidney shot this target, vendetta, mark for death, mutilate, mutilate, envenom, mark for death, envenom. If you have unused trinkets like Dress the Goth, you can use them too. If you have Breath of the Dying, you can use it too. As for the sustained damage, there isn't really a rotation, it's more guidelines. You want to make sure that your bleeds are always up on the target you're hitting. You want to make sure your poisons are always up on the target you're hitting. You want to make sure if you're going for a cleave strategy, so if you're bleeding two targets, for example, that your bleeds and your poisons, most important thing, your poisons, are also up on the secondary target. Poisons only last 8 seconds, so it's easy to forget to reapply your poison on your secondary target, but you should do it. And yeah, after that, you kidney shot when you have Toxic Blade, when you have some damage ready, when the bleeds are up, and when there is no diminishing return. And during kidney shot, mutilate, mutilate, envenom, mark for death, envenom. And that's about it for the rotation. I mean, the rest really depends on the situation. This is why I'm trying to upload some arena gameplay so you can see what I'm doing. Comps. So, if you want to play 2 versus 2 with a healer, the best options are Discipline Priest or Holy Paladin. Restoration Druid is really good too, but not as good as Discipline Priest and Holy Paladin. The other 3 healers are not as good with a Rogue. If you want to play 2 versus 2 with a DPS, then Rogue Mage is your best option. You can also play Assassination Rogue, Survival Hunter, or Assassination Rogue Shadow Priest, but these comps are not exceptional and are much better if you play Salty Rogue. If you want to play 3 versus 3, then Rogue Mage Healer is a very safe pick. If you want to play with a Fire Mage, then you choose a Holy Paladin as your healer, and if you want to play with a Frost Mage, then you should pick a Restoration Druid as your healer. You can also play Assassination Rogue, Destruction Warlock, and either Holy Paladin or Restoration Druid. And you can also play Assassination Rogue, Shadow Priest, and either Restoration Shaman or Holy Paladin. Other comps might work, of course, but I think the comps I listed are the best ones if you want to push rating. Alright, that's it for this guide. I hope it was good enough for you. If you have any kind of feedback, it will be much appreciated in the comments. Have a good one and see you next time.
Goodbye.